The time is just gone 20 minutes to 9 as we continue this morning on this day of Friday. And we are talking about another event that is taking place. And this is today, we're talking about Haidar Eid and the Mavericks, which is taking place this evening at 6 p.m. And we are talking about the Mia Seeds of Resistance. We're talking about poetry and Unite Against Apartheid Israel. Now, in South Africa, we do have the honor of hosting the Associate Professor of Postcolonial and Postmodern Literature at Gaza's al-Aqsa University. We have spoken to him over and over again, and we are talking now with none other than Professor Haidar Eid. Professor Haidar Eid, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome and Jazakallah khair for your time.
Walaikum salam. Thank you so much, brother Inayat, for having me on your show.
Yes, and being in South Africa, how has your trip been so far, Professor Eid?
Well, it has been a very rich experiment and experience at the same time. Experiment in finding out about how the people of South Africa are doing after about 30 years after the end of the apartheid system, and at the same time experience in terms of learning lessons from the struggle against the inhumane apartheid system. Lessons that I'm taking back with me to Palestine and especially to Gaza. And you know very well, brother, and I add that in Gaza we have been living under a terrible, hermetic medieval siege since July 2007. And people keep asking me here in South Africa, what can we do in order to support our brothers and sisters back in Palestine? And I have been saying, to all the people I have met, from activists to politicians to ordinary people, that the way forward right now for us in Palestine is through the international solidarity and support that we are getting from the outside world. Exactly like what happened in the 70s, 80s, when new people of South Africa on the international community to boycott the inhumane apartheid regime. We, in fact, bank on the people of South Africa to support us, to boycott Israel, to divest from Israel, and to call on the United Nations to impose sanctions against apartheid.
Yes, Professor Eid, if you could just move around slightly, we are losing a slight connection as you are talking. So, if you could possibly just try and get into a better a space where the network may improve the quality of the broadcast. But I see, obviously you have been in touch with a number of organizations, and particularly those, the Palestinian Solidarity organizations here, the PSA, this SABDS coalition as well. And I'm sure you have had a fair amount of time to engage with them and looking at these solidarity organizations and the support for Palestine. So, just your thoughts in some of your engagements with these organizations that support the Palestinian cause.
Well, in fact, and I hope that you can hear me well and that the line is better.
Yes, it's much better, much better.
Yeah. But look, Elias, I have been invited by the Palestinian PSA, the Palestinian Solidarity Alliance, and the BDS Coalition, and we have been discussing the strategies of cooperation between us as the Boycott National Committee of the BDS movement in Palestine, which is leading the global BDS movement, and the BDS coalition here in South Africa. We have also been discussing the best ways of breaking the deadly siege imposed by.
Yes, I think we have lost connection again, connective issues. I'm not too sure whether this load shedding is actually causing a huge problems with regard to connective issues, and I'm sure that many of us are at this point in time pretty frustrated at these connection issues that we are facing. In many instances, we see that networks have been affected. So we must apologize that we had a bit of a break in connection, but I see we have got Professor Haidar Eid back with us. Prof, once again, we must apologize. There was a break in connection for some reason or the other, but you can continue because you were talking about
Yes,
engaging with the Palestinian solidarity organizations in South Africa and
exactly.
looking at strategies going forward.
Exactly. So as I was saying, we were looking at the strategies going forward, cooperation between the not only the solidarity groups, and I mean even South African civil society. For example, yesterday I had a meeting with the administration and students of Kenya College where we discussed also the way forward and how we can have build ties between grassroots organizations on the ground back in Palestine, in particular in Gaza, because I reside in Gaza, and grassroots organizations here in South Africa, and how we can, in fact, support the global BDS movement. I mean, let me be blunt and open about it. We want South Africans to lead the global BDS movement with us Palestinians. You have a very rich experience in convincing the international community to isolate the apartheid system, ultimately leading to the collapse of apartheid in 1994. And we in Palestine, we have been arguing that this is our South African moment, exactly like what happened to you people in the late 80s. But we need the support of our South African comrades. I mean, you South Africans relied on our support as Palestinians. Look, I visited so many places here in South Africa with my family over the last 2 weeks. One of the highlights of our, visit was a visit to Robben Island. As I remember, the guide there on Robben Island, who's an ex-prisoner, as soon as we told him that we are from Palestine, he immediately started smiling and telling us how the PLO, how the Palestinian people supported the ANC and the SACP in the 60s, 70s, and 80s of last century. So I think it's time for the South African government itself to heed our call for boycotting the apartheid of Israel. We want the South African government to cut and sever all diplomatic ties with apartheid Israel. And this is what we have been discussing with our comrades here, the BDS coalition.
Yes. Now, Professor Eid, I know you are a professor of literature and modern literature as well, and you've got a huge interest, obviously, in the subject because of your expertise in this area. Now, I'm looking like the event that is taking place today, and we've seen a number of events, where the form of art is actually used to reflect the resistance of the people of Palestine and the struggle as well, whether it's through music or through poetry. And tonight, another event will be taking place. Just take us through the use of things like poetry and art and literature to further the cause for the Palestinians, and also at the same time, the much needed support that Palestinians need for the struggle against this brutal apartheid regime called Israel.
True. And I, you know very well that Israel is a separate colonial project, and since its establishment back in 1948, it has been denying the very existence of the Palestinian people. And one of the expressions of and the manifestations of the existence of the Palestinian people is its culture. And we have a rooted culture in Palestine that goes back, I don't want to say thousands of years ago, but I would say that hundreds of years back. And I have started paying more actually attention to the role of music and folkloric dance, especially after, the 2008-2009 massacre against Gaza. In 1967, when apartheid Israel invaded and occupied the Gaza Strip and the West Bank, the Israeli Prime Minister at the time, Golda Meir, was asked about the Palestinian people. I mean, and people can find that interview on YouTube. And her answer was, she said, they don't exist. The Palestinian people do not exist. And this is the reason why Israel has been stealing our culture, appropriating our culture. Hummus became hummus. They claim that falafel is an Israeli food. They claim that our most traditional meal, which is magluba, that is an Israeli meal. They have even stolen our mother's clothes, the traditional dress, and started claiming that it is Israeli and that it goes back, thousands of years back in history. And I think that, with poets like Mahmoud Darwish, Samih al-Qasim, writers and novelists like Ghassan Kanafani, thinkers like Edward Said, singers like the late Reem al-Banna and George Kormuz, we are proving that, look, we are a civilized, we have our own civilization, we have our own culture, that we are here in order to, in Palestine, we are there in Palestine in order to stay. And therefore, the international community must understand that the Palestinian people exist, that it is not a land without a people, for a people without a land, and it is time to demystify all those Zionist myths about the Palestinian people. But also, Brother Inayat, I think it's important to remind your listeners that all settler colonial projects are based on either genocide or ethnic cleansing. In Australia, New Zealand, in the United States of America, they committed a horrific genocide against the indigenous people of those countries. And this is what Israel is trying to do by erasing the Palestinian people and by erasing their culture. Hence, the importance of that relationship between culture and resistance. Palestinian culture has become one of the most important tools of resistance.
Well, certainly, and I'm sure it will feature very, very strongly at the event that is taking place this evening at 6 p.m. Professor Haidar Eid, as always, it's an absolute pleasure. Really, it's an honor for me to be talking to you every time I talk to you here on Assalam Media. We wish you well. We wish your family well, and also wishing everybody well at the event this evening, inshallah. Jazakallah for your time. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam. Thank you so much, Anaya.
Professor Haidar Eid with us this evening, and this is an event, Haidar Eid and the Mavericks, the 3rd of February. Is taking place this evening at 6 p.m. Seeds of Resistance, and this is all in the efforts of calling on everyone to unite against apartheid Israel, taking place at 71 Toby Street, Sophia Town, Johannesburg, at the Trevor Huddlestone Memorial Center. For more information, you can contact Noor on 079 363 2126 or info at palestinesa.co.za.